G'day everyone, Jason Nunn from Fisherman's Warehouse Marine, Sweet Street at Warners Bay, your Newcastle Honda marine dealer. And of course guys, blue skies and nor'west winds tomorrow being Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even into Monday. But on the weekend, look, it's going to get up to around about 20 knots, and seaward, it could get a little bit better than that. Look, out wide, probably on the shelf, they're probably looking at 25 to 30 the further out you go. Reports coming in from last week. I know Troy Payton, had a good chat with him there on Friday. A really nice yellowfin. He got it last Thursday while we were doing the report. He did a sneaky one. Albacore around about 17, 18 kilo looked to be for me, and a yellowfin around 30 kilo, and lost another yellowfin at the boat. Now that was going out of the bay, where Dan Thomas, they went out off Newcastle, and yellowfin around about 30 kilo, probably about the same size, dropped the marlin and noticed that there was other striped marlin in packs feeding on bait. And that's the story that we're getting now from Port Macquarie. So there's fish really from Swansea right the way through Port Macquarie. We're starting to see a new kick along with that big upwelling that we've been talking about probably for the last few weeks. It's starting to move down, but it's so big that it's trapped in on the coast. There's not a lot of current. There's not a lot of current off Swansea at the present moment, but it looks like there's quite a few striped marlin around, in and around about that, from probably the shelf to 300 fathoms, typical of what they were in and around about April. But there are some really nice yellowfin tuna and albacore the further out you go, and probably out to around about, I reckon, 600 to 1,000 fathoms will be probably the pick. But with that striped marlin activity already starting to come around in spring, just around the corner, you'd probably put the gear in early to get out. But I don't reckon you're going to do it this week. But just pick your opportunity through the weeks and really have a bit of a go. We're going to go Saturday, but it's just going to get blown out. So we'll just keep our gunpowder dry, as it were. Now, you've got some really nice tides coming up this weekend, guys. 6:45 high tide, around about 10 past, 12 on Saturday for the low. The new moon coming through next Tuesday. So this weekend into next weekend, you'll really see some really good fishing happening, particularly estuary, but I still think offshore. You know, that inshore fishery, I think the farm will probably be a little bit blowy, even though we've got minimal swell. So if you can get out there early enough and avoid that heavier wind, you'll still get some very good snapper on that farm area heading further south towards Texas. But the inshore fishery with that nice early morning tide will be the pick. Some really nice squire getting caught on the inshore reefs. Burling is really the key, guys, and with that westerly wind getting up above 20, you'll be able to be pretty rigid on the anchor or the electric. Probably the anchor's probably a bit better this time round. And burley up hard, you'll pick up some really nice reds, a few flatties and a few mowies. Nothing's really changed, and it's not spectacular, but there's enough snapper on those inshore reefs to make it worth its while. Minimal swell on the beaches and the rocks gives you another opportunity. A lot of salmon, we talked about it last week, coastally, so don't anticipate too much more off the beaches. But the rocks, drummer on that nice high tide, snapper, there's been a few nice reds getting caught off our local rock platform, so something worth a good look, and plenty of very good luderick. Still enough time to get into some of these bigger tailor, but drummer and luderick on the rocks will be absolutely perfect. Minimal swell and a really good tide. I think that's really going to be perfect with that westerly wind this weekend. In the lake, it's already started to happen. We've seen a few nice mulloway get caught this week. I know Craig Walkham, I've seen his post this week. I commented back to him. He got a couple of really nice mulloway in the lake and released. I think it was like 126 and 127. Craig, you'll probably correct me on it, but Craig does a lot of tag and release of mulloway throughout the lake, and it's perfect to see that. I also seen a post just then, Dave Dunn, doing exactly the same thing. A lot more mulloway in this September run. We're moving into this new moon next Tuesday, right the way through now to the next full. The lake itself will fish very, very well for mulloway. So it's something to think about. Using lures, whether you're throwing grub tails or big paddles onto the bottom, vibing, or indeed trolling, because those tailor, again, will start to mass up. There's a lot of salmon throughout the lake itself, so you will move around, but I still think that centre part of the lake is worth a go. And I reckon up towards Valentine and maybe a little bit over towards Carey Bay, that area through there, the trench, really worth a go, just to sort of have a bit of a troll and work some of these baits. There's still plenty of bait in and around that Rathmines, Coal Point area, and a lot of bait still down around Pawba. you've got a lot of opportunity to move around. And remember, with these northwest, westerly winds, which we're going to get, you'll have that protection on the western side of the lake, which is going to be key important. With that tide, you'll be able to fish of an evening on those flats, and these big brim have continued. There's not so many brim down in the channel itself, probably up towards the bridge, but in the lake and on that drop over area now. So really got to have a look. The dredging activity, for what it was worth, has now finished. So I think it just, those tides are a little bit, they're not big tides. The nighttime tides still up around about that 1.8, 1.7, 1.8. So a lot more opportunity of an evening. Now, you're going to start to see whiting sprinkle around. I had a report last week, a few whiting starting to get caught on the western side of the lake. Guys, our biggest problem is at the moment the lack of support by tackle shops within Newcastle on tube worms. It's going to be a real problem. I spoke to Les from Aquabait this week. Nobody's really doing tube worms, and so over the next few weeks, hopefully we'll get some feedback, and I'll be able to tell you a few of the tackle outlets and or private enterprises who are actually prepared to do something with tube worms. They take a lot of pressure off the wild stock, and they are key importance this summer for our whiting and brim fishery. So I'll keep you updated, but at the moment, a lot of the main chain tackle stores that we see around are not doing tube worms. Come on, guys, have a crack. Get out there and just put something back to the customer base and put some tubies out there, because over the next month to two, October, even in November, you'll see a real increase in these whiting and brim now getting on the flats. Those flathead have started to move around. I was talking to a couple of Spearos on the weekend. They were down in the channel. A lot of ludric around, seen a few brim, but a lot of flathead starting to get in the channel, which means they're moving out of this deeper water and getting into the shallower bay stuff. So Salts Bay, sort of up through that Air Force Channel area in particular, opposite the school, up towards where the skate park is, all through there, worth having a drift on that run out tide and throwing some lures and paddles and really grub tails on that long distance casting will be preferred. Crabs, there will be a few crabs out, but the trouble is with these winds of around about 20 knots, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable out on the lake. So I think you've just got to sort of hunker down a bit over the weekend. Father's Day this Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And mums and kids, get out there and spoil your dads. Hopefully we'll have some more to talk about, and I'll be really interested to see how it develops in that offshore situation. And if you're a tackle shop owner, come on guys, have a crack. Let's stock some tube worms, and I'll see you next week.